Good evening and welcome to Give Me a Break. I'm John the Carpeting. Take a look at this pie chart. This pie chart is the whole general fund budget of $443.8 million. So think about that. You had to mind control Ken Jennings to get you that kind of dough for that. Or be like the clown ghost from, Scooby-Doo. Yeah, that'd be like that. Watch the pretty corn of gold, and you will do as you're told. You will convince Ken Jennings of Jeopardy to get you that over $300 million. And you have to fight back with... So I got Scooby-Doo on the brain. But the thing is, this pie chart is... half of it is dedicated to the police and fire department. That's 49%. 13% of street transfer and lines, $42 million. Other departments get $68 million. Property taxes over 30%. Other taxes, $2.7 million. These other taxes, certain types of fees, is all below. All this, the mayor, city council, health, library, all of this. So could there be plans for next year's general fund? Here's Bill Churchwell.
Have to either one raise revenues or cut services, or a combination of the both.
That's about 2% of the $350 million projected general fund budget. While it seems small on paper, it could have outsized consequences for public services.
Library budget's $5 million. Our entire animal care operation is $5 million, and so you can see the challenges that we face to generate $7 million by reducing operations.
To prepare for possible cuts, each department has been asked to identify ways to reduce their budgets.
What's our difference?
Councilman Roland Barrera made clear that not all departments will see cuts, but the city needs options.
Trim in about 10% off. And so that doesn't mean that we're going to do that across the board. It just means that we're going to review it and see where the opportunities are.
Low-hanging fruit has already been cut, like internal programs and vacant positions. This time, reductions could impact more visible services.
That's why we want to look at revenues as well. We're going to look to see some of the user fees and fees for service, if we can increase those.
Zanoni points to about a $12 million impact because of tax relief, including expanded exemptions for homeowners and seniors, as a major factor behind the shortfall. While the city does have reserve funds for emergencies, they could look at plugging the gap with those. However, that's something they want to avoid. Keep in mind, the new fiscal year begins October 1st, so there's still time over the next few months to develop the actual budget. Bill Churchwell, 3 News.
All right, thank you for that, Bill. And as he mentioned, the City Council will continue reviewing the budget through a series of workshops this summer. A final vote is expected in September, but whether that includes cuts to city services is not yet known. We will, of course, keep you posted.
And we'll keep you posted as well on a future Give Me a Break. And like people said, you gotta make some cuts. Like in that story about the janitor. One of the New York City's, the school chancellor had to cut back over $30 million due programs, teacher jobs on the line. Well, he's like saying, well, I want to pay more teachers, like pay concerns of paying teachers. It may not be ridiculous, but it'd be all part of the plan being put in place if it were to happen. So in the future, Give Me a Break, we'll let you know what happens. And we'll continue letting you know.
Early voting.
All right. We're now going to take it to Ingleside, where there's a bond going on. That's right. It's not just in Flower Bluff. Election Day is this Saturday, and if you haven't already voted, it's too late now. The early voting has been ended. The election day is May 3rd. We'll provide a special Give Me a Break. We might provide a very special Give Me a Break for the day before, outside the board. If it were to happen, your vote may count. It could happen. We'll let you know. Take a look.
Campuses, and they're asking voters to help fund it. A nearly $50 million package will be on the ballot this election. The proposed bond is split into 2 parts. Prop A carries a price tag of $44.9 million. That includes safety upgrades across all campuses, new school buses, and added PE facilities at both the middle school and high school. The biggest piece of that would add 8 new classrooms to the elementary school.
Right now, our elementary school is above functional capacity. We are growing as a community. We have several new subdivisions that are being built. And in order to prepare ourselves for that influx of students that we are anticipating once those subdivisions come online and are being lived in, we felt, or the committee felt, that those additional classrooms will be beneficial.
Those district leaders say the upgrades are needed to prepare for the influx of students expected from several new housing developments already underway. And of course, there's a full list of the projects included on the bond on the district's website. And of course, we'll also have that linked on our website. But you can tune in for my full report at 6:30. John Thomas, Fire.
You know Harbor Freight for affordability.
So it may not be the same thing as our bond for this year, but if it does pass, we'll let you know on a future Give Me a Break about what has happened before. But until then, for all those 2 stories, we'll keep you posted. Still ahead, are calculators hindering kids' math skills in class? Are those calculators being used to hinder kids? Some people are saying, like, no, we don't need calculators. Juju Chain will help you understand, will have you meet one person who is a human calculator. Then my good friend Tony Halamir with some great news about the park and pool. But first, you guessed it, Project Baltimore. What's in store for Project Baltimore? Which kind of rhymes anyway. Stay with us to find out. We all depend on them. We all depend on them these days. It's on the phones. You can find them in any store and any school. Those calculators. But could there be a link between math, IEP, and calculators? Well, there are some concerns being grown over calculator use in the classrooms. Not just those regular handheld calculators that you are provided, the school provides, but the phone calculators. So could it be hurting the IEP for special education kids? Well, CSATS team may think so, and as we're about to show you, and as Josh Maxwell tells us, it is a growing concern unlike any other.
As the Corpus Christi Independent School District navigates a busy week of STAR testing, many students are no doubt prepping for their exams. A subject that seems to divide many is math.
That's what's missing, is going back to the basics.
CMath is Easy co-founder Andrea Johnson talking about a key variable missing from many students' core education. However, she says the answer to that equation is easy to solve.
A lot of them did have the accommodations for the calculator.
Johnson has been an educator for decades, helping students in the classroom from the early 2000s to now. She says while students can have problems with comprehension due to learning disabilities, it can still have drawbacks.
If this student has accommodations, when did they have the opportunity to learn the multiplications?
Which begs the question, how young can a student receive an accommodation?
Well, most accommodations are given at first grade, second grade, third grade.
TA doesn't even want us to introduce a calculator really to a student who just has trouble recalling facts until upper elementary, like 5th grade, going into middle school for 6th and 7th grade.
Under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, an IEP is typically tailored to students with learning disabilities. Jennifer Arizmendi, who is CCISD's Chief Officer for Special Education Programs and Services, says there are some nuances.
A student doesn't have to have a diagnosis of a disability in the area of math to need the accommodation. 3
News did obtain records from CCISD showing the number of students grades 6 through 12 who have calculator accommodations on their IEPs. Arizmendi says while those numbers average out, ever-changing curriculum makes the use of a calculator in classrooms unavoidable.
If we find over time, and even with intervention, the student is still struggling, then we want to support them because we don't want them getting any further behind than their peer who doesn't need a calculation aid or is not in special education.
Johnson says if left unchecked, students can experience significant setbacks down the road, especially when it's time for college.
Most of the students drop out because they don't have those math skills because they weren't taken care of in the 3rd and 4th grade.
Now, Arizmendi says it is possible for a student to be taken off of an accommodation only after adequate proof is given. Now, that can include report cards and teacher feedback. She says IEP plans are typically looked at on an annual basis. Back to you.
All right, thank you, Josh.
Tired of your phone dying when you're on?
But now those lawmakers are still probably looking into those.
Well, tonight,
those STAR testing. So take a look at this.
Well, tonight, students feeling the weight as they take state exams, also known as the STAR test. 3rd through 5th graders sat down today to finish the math portion of the test. Texas lawmakers say that they're looking at changing the current policy on testing to make it less stressful for teachers and students alike. Our Faith Colbert shows us how their proposal could impact area schools.
We've got students across the district taking their math STAR EOC. One test, one time a year.
As the STAR test season is winding down, districts across the state have been preparing our students to perform exceptionally well. But some changes could be coming as to how often that test is given.
The state is right now considering, at the legislative level, having a 3-time-a-year assessment, beginning of the year, middle of the year, and end of the year, which sounds pretty hopeful.
Dr. Clement adds that not only will this aim to raise those test score numbers, but it will also benefit the mental health for parents, teachers, and students.
That one day of test is super stressful for that one content area, and having that beginning, middle, and end of the year, I think also shows growth, which is what we target with our kids.
Now, if we were to see these proposed changes come to fruition, the actual length of the test would not be altered.
Ultimately, through these discussions, be the same length as a full-blown STAR test that we're used to seeing, but this one will be broken down into chunks throughout the year.
Keeping information fresh on anyone's mind during a test will usually bring out better results.
It'll allow us to test in shorter bursts after content rather than having to assess on an entire year's worth of content. And so I think there's benefits to it.
Faith Colbert, 3 News.
Sometimes it can feel like there's no way out of treatment-resistant.
Beginning, middle, and end. It could be perfect. We just don't know it. It could happen next year. It all depends on what the state has to say. We'll, of course, be keeping you posted on what the lawmakers have to say about the STAR test 3 times, beginning, middle, and end. But when we return, Project Baltimore is up next, with probably more scales going on, maybe proof about why the superintendent is not moving out of Baltimore County. Is not moving to Baltimore County. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. It may not be an all boxing match, but with the superintendent's contract violating her contract and the board defending the superintendent, it's like this. You have community members in Baltimore saying that she violated her contract, while on the other side you have school board members saying no, she does not have to move. The requirement is not going to be this, is, and the third. We've been telling you about the superintendent's contract being violated throughout the weeks. And so far, community members are saying that more has got to be done. We also focus in on a child who was removed from school. Who was removed from school because investigators saw that she didn't live at the home. But she did live at the home, and now she was back at the house. But could there be more changes to the contract than we would ever know? Here's Chris Papps.
Does this appear to be a contractual violation to you?
Yes.
Jordana Schiffinelli is an attorney who represents the Somerset County Board of Education.
What I've learned, it's never cut and dry.
As a school board attorney, Schiffinelli is familiar with how superintendent contracts work. She's been following Project Baltimore's recent reporting concerning potential contract violations regarding Baltimore County Public Schools Superintendent Dr. Miriam Rogers. And while Schiffinelli feels Rogers' contract has been breached, she's not surprised the Baltimore County Board of Education is not holding anyone accountable.
We're going to take a break. We'll be right back. I'm so sorry about that, folks. We had a technical difficulty, but I assure you it has been fixed. Now, before this technical difficulty, we've been showing you the superintendent's incident to where she violated her contract. But as we reported, her contract was violated. But board members defended the superintendent, saying she does not have to be required of doing this, this, and the third. Tonight, you're going to meet an attorney for the school board. She says that she's concerned about the violation. Maybe she wants the person who defended her, not just the superintendent stepping down, but that board member that defended her to step down as well. Could this mean a better superintendent for Baltimore County? Well, community members are probably saying yes. Like I've been showing you, there was a student there who moved in Baltimore, who moved to a school. But when investigators for the school district came in to investigate, saying they concluded like, oh, she didn't live there. But after seeing Project Baltimore's story, there were changes. So is there going to be change for the superintendent violating or unviolating her contract? Here's Chris Papps.
Does this appear to be a contractual violation to you?
Yes.
Jordana Schiffinelli is an attorney who represents the Somerset County Board of Education.
What I've learned, it's never cut and dry.
As a school board attorney, Schiffinelli is familiar with how superintendent contracts work. She's been following Project Baltimore's recent reporting concerning potential contract violations regarding Baltimore County Public Schools Superintendent Dr. Miriam Rogers. And while Schiffinelli feels Rogers' contract has been breached, she's not surprised the Baltimore County Board of Education is not holding anyone accountable. Dr. Rogers became superintendent in July 2023. According to her contract, she must relocate to Baltimore County within 1 year of beginning her term, unless extended by the board in writing. But that did not happen. Rogers, according to BCPS, did not move to Baltimore County until the fall of 2024. Project Baltimore filed a public records request for the written approval Rogers received to extend the residency requirement of her contract. BCPS replied, "There are no responsive records," meaning there is no written approval. The terms of her contract were not followed.
She probably violated some of the provisions of her contract.
So Project Baltimore wrote every school board member asking, who is responsible for violating the terms of Dr. Rogers' contract? And apparently, the answer is, there were no violations. In a reply, Board Chair Jane Lichter wrote, neither party breached the contract. Lichter explained the superintendent obtained verbal approval, and the board chair can speak or act on behalf of the board. The statement added, in retrospect, a different approach and better communication could have avoided distraction.
Well, the board doesn't seem to think it's a big deal. It's not a big deal. Okay. Next. The contract specifically says you should do it, but it's not a big deal. We're not going to fire you for it. We're not going to take away from your pay. We're not going to do anything to remedy this minor infraction.
But that was not the only issue Project Baltimore discovered regarding Rogers' contract. Prior to relocating to Baltimore County, Rogers' contract states, the superintendent shall provide the board with estimates from 2 moving companies, and the board agrees to reimburse the superintendent for the amount of the lower estimate, up to $15,000. Fox 45 News obtained the 2 moving expense estimates, but they were never submitted to the entire board, and the board never voted to reimburse Rogers.
Our next item.
But her moving expenses were approved by the then board chair, Tiara Booker Dwyer. Concerning the moving expenses, Lichter explained in the board statement, there was no breach of contract, but added sending the full board copies of the moving expense estimates so everyone would be on the same page may have been helpful.
They only have one person to manage, that is the superintendent. So they should be monitoring the behavior and performance on all kind of different levels, in addition to what's in the particular contract.
Schiffinelli told Fox 45 News violations regarding the terms of a superintendent's contract are largely viewed by school boards in two ways. Is the violation considered material, meaning essential to the position, or non-material, meaning it's of less importance? The difference, according to Schiffinelli, is largely up to the board's discretion. In other words, the board can decide what parts of a superintendent's contract it wants to enforce and what parts it doesn't.
Is it material that she doesn't reside in the county where she works? For this board, sounds like, not a big deal.
If the school board decides which contractual obligations of the superintendent will be enforced, keep in mind it's the voters who decide a majority of the school board members. The next election is 2026. I'm Chris Pabst, and this is Project Baltimore.
And we're a year away from that. So we could be seeing the board members be looking at the Project Baltimore stores and be all like, okay, it's my decision, so I'm going to vote for, we extend 2 years. I mean, it's 4 years, you know. If you're going to be one successful school board, you got to be living in the county where you live. I mean, if you want to be superintendent of Flower Bluff, you need to be living in Flower Bluff. You want to live in Port Aransas, you got to be living on the island or somewhere. But Flower Bluff and the island are connected. So if you live on Laguna Shores, you're still living in Flower Bluff. If you live on Graham Road, you're still living in Flower Bluff. Flower Bluff Drive, it's the same shit. But still, you need to be doing that in writing. And people say it's no big deal. Well, it is a big deal. You made the rules, and now you made the rules, and you're going to sit there and say it's not a big deal. Well, to some people, it is a big deal. To even the parents sitting there saying, hearing this, it is a big deal. Because the thing is that, you know, you could be sitting there saying to yourself, well, I don't care. You're the board chairs. Y'all decide y'all decided to hear what the voters had to say about what the superintendent's decision. And so, you decided. You did decide. And so therefore, you've been played. It's all about getting the ducks in a row and doing what needs to be done. That's what the two's all about. And look, you can defend yourself and say, you can defend yourself by your statements, but what I'll say is this. You've got to look at these people very closely. Even if I were to talk to them like this with a sports coat off and no tie, it would be like looking at them going all, look, just talk to me about it and then we'll see what we can do. It's like getting some people some help. But at that time, there's probably not any help at all because nothing is being done to prevent this from happening again. But still, people have got to be understanding where people are coming from here in these types of situations. Like if I was a superintendent, I would live in the Flower superintendent, I'd live in Flower Bluff. But if I wanted to become the superintendent of CCISD and still live in Flower Bluff, the board would give me a year to move to a place CCISD. I would then have to submit it all to them in writing, not just the chair, the board president. It's like tell them and say, hey, I'm moving to Flower Bluff. I'm moving from Flower Bluff to the south side in the CCISD area, and I want to show you all this paper trail. I would have done all that in writing, and it probably would have been more helpful. So we'll keep looking into this, and on a future show, we'll let you know what happens. Coming up, Parker Pool's getting ready for Memorial Day. They grand open for the whole Horn community. Wait till you see the technology and the air filters that have been improved. And is the whole place being improved, the bathrooms and all? Find out when we come back. Stay with us. Are you getting ready for Memorial Day 2025? I know I am, and I hope you're going to be making a big splash at this pool. That's right. Throughout the years, the pool has been closed due to maintenance issues.
Hey there, how can I help? Looks like the microphone can't be used right now. Try again later.
Because of these issues, the pool had to be closed because of all the maintenance issues going on that people were complaining about. Well, now it is 2025, Memorial Day is coming up, and your child is going to the pool. But not till you see what these people that you're about to meet have in store. What are those new things coming in store? Well, here's my very good friend Tony Hallamir.
Pick up that filter right there. Alright. Then we'll take him out to the back. This is the neighborhood pool. This is the one everybody can go to. And when you come out here and you hear all them little kids squealing and going on, it's really the payback.
At Parker Pool in Flower Bluff, volunteers like Mark Thomas have been working for years to keep this community amenity afloat. Thomas and other members of the Coastal Bend Friends of Aquatics stepped in when the city closed the pool over 10 years ago.
Okay, now just let him do that, and he's going to change directions on you. Yeah! We went in as the Flower Bluff Business Association, and then we split our bunch off from there. We worked on a shoestring budget for a couple of years.
After years of volunteer efforts, Nueces County stepped in to help with major renovations using ARPA funds awarded to Precinct 4, which I told you about back in February of 2024.
We're doing great. We're on budget. We're on time. We're still planning on a Memorial Day opening for the community. It's just, it's exciting to see this come together.
Commissioner Chesney tells me the county closely followed all water restrictions with the pool, given the current drought restrictions. He says the biggest improvement is a new filtration system replacing equipment from the 70s.
This is 2024, 2025. The other stuff was 72. We had to shoestring that thing together for about as long as we could.
As a reminder, Commissioner Chesney tells me the pool is open to the whole county. In Flower Bluff, I'm your neighborhood news reporter, Tony Hadamio, Chris 6 News.
And it's something that the whole county would see, and so would I. I'll probably get a chance to see that new system in person. Maybe not. But it is probably a great thing for the Hornet community to see. To see the whole new changes on Memorial Day weekend, so. But we're going to be going on our season finale sometime in a couple weeks. And believe me, when our season finale comes, we're going to have something fun. I'm not going to reveal it to you yet. I don't want to reveal any spoilers. Except for the fact that in the coming weeks, I want to remind you, in the coming weeks, we have a special coming up with the septuplets. On their birthday. Well, we're going to have that story for you coming up on Mother's Day. A very special Give Me a Break on May 11th. So, that's coming in a couple weeks. We'll let you know. Now, very seriously, let's go back to some very serious issues here. I've been telling you this. 8.5 years of doing this broadcast, my whole goal is to help people stop bullying, is to help people learn how to speak up. And throughout all the years, bullying has played a role in bullying has played a role for me. I'm very passionate about bullying. You know why? Because nobody has the tools. And if we can give teachers, administrators the tools to what we need to do, then maybe then, we can come up with a plan. There was a thing called bullying prevention, but nobody wants to hear about that prevention because no one would give two rats' asses. And now, there's a video from People magazine. According to People magazine, this was from People magazine. School officials denounced video of a middle schooler bullying 5-year-old with racial slurs. No place. Don't hurt me, the 5-year-old says at one point in the video, holding out his hands and putting a jacket over his head for protection. A Virginia school district has responded to a video showing a middle school using racial insults and ethnic slurs to bully a 5-year-old preschooler. And now, just days before that, the middle school reported for sharing video of himself bullying preschooler with Asian slurs of the 5-year-old begs, "Don't hurt me." The mother says, "I just don't know why those kids are so cruel to say it to my son." The mother and father are identified. This is all on YouTube. Just take a look at this.
Shows a middle school boy using, that video you're about to see, shows a middle school boy using ethnic slurs to harass a 5-year-old Asian boy. The video made its way back to that 5-year-old's parents, who shared it with us. Now they're speaking to News 4 about the devastating impact they say this has had on their family. Our Northern Virginia Bureau Chief Julie Carey has their story.
The video, created by a middle school boy on April 5th, begins with an ethnic slur directed at a 5-year-old. We're bleeping out the offensive words.
This little short over here.
No! Don't hurt me!
Yeah, this
Don't hurt me!
he's a menace.
Don't do it!
The frightened little boy runs along the porch, crying out to the older children nearby. At least some of the other boys just laugh. The videographer continues with the harassment.
Are you having dumplings for dinner?
After 2 minutes, Mom opens the door. The little boy runs inside.
Bye, have a good day.
The video was posted to a chat group set up by some students from nearby Eagle Ridge Middle School. A parent saw it and came to the little boy's home in tears to show it to his mom and dad. We're concealing the parent's identity to protect their son. Ashley says she too cries every time she sees what happened to her preschooler.
Every time I saw that, my heart's broken. Every time. As a mother, to see my son insulted by other older kids. My son is only 5 years old. I just don't know why those kids are so cruel to see that to my son.
Husband Sean says his son was confused by the ethnic slur used, having never heard it before, wondering if the middle schooler was calling him King Kong.
Should I keep lying and say, yes, they're calling you King Kong because you're strong? Or should I try to explain to him what does that word and why they're saying that to you? It's hard.
The couple not only troubled by the boy who did the videotaping, but by the older children who laughed and stood by watching.
Nobody came to step out and to say stop. Nobody think this is not right. They just laughing. Yeah, nobody stood out.
The couple tells me they came to this country from China, working hard, saving up to buy a home. They researched heavily, choosing Loudoun County and Broadlands in part for the well-respected schools. Now, Sean says, their vision of life here is tarnished.
We thought that this will be a great place. However, though, it ended up like this. So what hurts me most is, then where else should I be? That hurts me most, not just the words.
Because the videotaping occurred in a neighborhood and not at school, it's unlikely Eagle Ridge Middle would have a role in disciplining the student who made the video. But spokesman Dan Adams tells News 4, the school division does not condone the behavior and is quite disappointed. Even though this child, he said, referring to the 5-year-old, is not an LCPS student, we have offered this student counseling and potentially restorative practices. The restorative practices will be directed toward the middle schooler. The Loudoun County Sheriff's Office confirms they have received a report of the incident, but say because juveniles are involved, they can't comment any further. The boy's parents hope by putting a spotlight on what happened, it may raise awareness, even provide a warning.
Let other family know and never say that bad words to the kids, never say racist words to other kids. It's not right.
I think children means the future. If children are sinking down, then the future of this country is sinking down.
In Loudoun County, I'm Julie Carey, News 4.
Just despicable and heartbreaking. News 4 has not been able to identify that middle schooler who recorded the video. The family believes he lives in their neighborhood.
a neighboring school, just nothing would happen because nobody would care. And then the day after, the older boy does not appear on camera. But this 5-year-old, look at this. This is a 5-year-old child saying, "Don't hurt me." And yet, nobody wants to sit there and help out. While other kids are sitting there making fun, calling racial slurs. You know, King Kong, all that. Look, if I was bullying a black person, calling that person a nigger, then they would beat the crap. Then, you know, I'm hurting their feelings while the other black person would beating the crap out of me. I'm not a racist. If I was, though, that would be a better example. But I'm not. I'm not a racist. We shouldn't be judging people by the color of their skin, and we shouldn't be picking on people because of their race. Racial bullying has played out a huge part. It's even played a part in bullying. And now there's a new bill changing the definition of bullying in Iowa. Now, the state of Iowa is very strict about truancy, but it can be very strict about bullying and truancy. That's just one of the excuses being used in truancy court. You know, judge asks a child, "Why are you not going to school anymore?" "Because I'm being bullied." What's going on? People are picking on me because they made fun of me because I knew the answers. You know, this is and the third. And it's like, okay, let me ask you, are you smart? The correct answer would be, "Yes, Judge, I am smart. Look at my grades." You shouldn't be picked on because you know all the answers. Nobody should be able to pick on you because you know all the answers. In Iowa, the Senate has sent a bill changing how the state defines bullying. To the governor Tuesday, despite concerns that some Democrats that measure will make it more difficult for schools to enforce anti-bullying protections. The Iowa Code defines bullying harassment in schools as electronic, written, verbal, or physical acts or conduct that create an objectively hostile school environment for students based on any actual perceived trait or characteristic. There are 17 traits listed as potential characteristics of a student that could be used in bullying, including age, race, religion, sexual orientation, gender identity, disability, and potential belief. The law states that bullying is not limited to these categories, but it should be. But now, there is this one. Section 280.28, bullying harassment prohibited policy. All of this is from this section. It disapproved the 6. Remove this list references students being bullied because of actual perceived trait of a student. Instead, defining bullying or harassment as repeated and targeted. Which, that should change. You know, you shouldn't be bullied. That shouldn't be happening. But the law is not limited to traits being listed. Trump Gary said, but having 17 characteristics for a law and for reference helps schools and families by identifying and track many of the major reasons why students are being bullied. It's the real intent. But Senator Mac Blake Dublano said he was bullied in school and suffered severe depression during middle school and high school because of bullying. The measure heads to Governor Kim Reynolds' desk, but the governor's like, because bullying plays a huge part. And like I said, it's often used in truancy court. Your child goes to truancy court, and there's a lot of unexcused absence. Your child goes to truancy court and says that, "Oh, I've been bullied." But nobody contacts mom and dad and says, "Look, your child's being bullied." But the school doesn't help because they don't know what to do. There is some things you can do, like we've been talking about. You know, talk to your child about their values. Do not go running down the hallways of the schoolhouse gate with your hair on fire making accusations. And don't do the same thing with teachers. Contact the bully's parents, that way y'all are on the same page. Be involved. This is not a time to say, "Hey, children will be children." Get involved. And for cyberbullying, you must unplug. Unplug from that, because that is a virtual world out there. a virtual world. So you're going on social media, Snapchat or whatever, and you're being bullied, someone calls you a faggot or a bitch, you're telling you're ugly or disgusting, that is virtual. You must unplug for that. That doesn't mean unplug. You block the person and you report to the police. It doesn't just happen outside of school. You try to tell them, hey, Johnny, beat up this kid. School's like, well, it's something we can do. Contact, file a police report. And just be the same as making accusations at the school saying, hey, you didn't do enough. And bullying does play a part in all the school shootings, and not just truancy, but all of the traits. We're gonna play a portion from Sheriff Mike Sherwood's interview when we come back. Please stay with us. Going on the topic of bullying, I recently had a conversation with my service coordinator, or I should say case manager, Alyssa Lamb, and she tells me that, and we've been going over every single broadcast, and you know what she told me? She told me that the superintendent that we talked about for the Kingsville area, she was her teacher. She was her teacher. And believe me, if that was the same teacher that picked on her, I don't know what to say, but, I'm glad she had really great teachers. So, Ms. Lamb, if you're watching this, I'm really glad you had some good teachers helping you out. But going back to what we're talking about before the break, bullying does not only play a part in truancy court, it also plays a part in all these school shootings that are going on. Think about this. I was a kid, you were a kid. Did you get bullied when you were in school? If you got bullied, you stood there and you fought the bully. If you got your ass kicked, don't cry, but you stood there and you fought the bully. Take a look.
How much of this is bullying that plays a part in this? Because I know when I read some of the comments on social media, they say, well, the reason why some of these kids may have so much anger in their heart, because they've been bullied in school and they want to go show the bullies that, hey, I can fight back. Has anyone addressed that as well? Because like I said, when you read some of these comments, there are some of these parents that'll say like, no one's doing anything about the bullies, and can you blame a kid for wanting to take a weapon to school to defend themselves or to fight back?
Yes, I can blame a kid for wanting to take a weapon to school and fight back. And does bullying play an issue? It sure does. I mean, that's what they're saying about the shooter in Georgia, and that's what they say with most of the shootings. But think of this for a minute. I was a kid, you were a kid. Did you get bullied when you were in school? I did.
Yeah.
I did. And what I was taught was you stood there and you fought the bully. If you got your ass kicked, don't cry, but you stand up to the bully, and that's the way to do it. You didn't think about going grabbing your parents' gun and going in and shooting a kid or shooting up your school for that reason. That was the furthest thing from my mind. But, again, that falls into the schools with the bullying. There's going to be some of that in there no matter what. I mean, my granddaughters say they get picked on because of the color of their hair or whatever girls do in grammar school. My position to them is, you punch them in the face one time, they won't bully you anymore. Of course, my daughter's like, what are you doing? They'll get suspended. You can't do that. But you have to stand up to a bully, and you have to bring that to the attention to the school administration, and then they have to work through that from there.
Exactly. I mean, just like punch bully in the face, and then, Mr. Teacher, this kid's picking on me and I defended myself. You defended yourself? You fought the bully? Detention! And then the parents would be up on you saying, mom be like, why did the principal call me saying you got in a fight at school? I know you're mad, but what? I don't want to hear it. You're in trouble. Say goodbye to your phone for 5 fucking weeks. You're going to be mowing the grass. You're going to be taking out the trash. You're going to be helping me out. You're going to cook me dinner. And you're going to apologize to the school with me. I don't want to hear your ass. Get out of my fucking sight. Dad'd be like, Simon! Why did the principal call me and say you got in front of school? Okay, I know that you're mad, but first. Oh, really? Did you win? Yeah, that's my boy. That's my boy. You know what I showed you, right? Tell me what happened. Hey, if he put his hands on you, you should have knocked him out. And what needs to be taught is this. Telling is not tattling. If you go to somebody in authority, that's not tattling. Like we all heard the old saying, oh, nobody likes to tattletale. Telling somebody in authority is not tattling. And yes, bullying does play a huge part.
Today on Judge Porter.
And you know, Dr. Phil has been talking about bullying for years. And there are ways. It's the bullying epidemic. You know, for advice, you know, you have to unplug from these. It's all about the word unplug. You've got to unplug from social media sites. Because bullying and isolation do play a huge mix. And I would play for you the 40 hours special about bullying, but CBS would then demonetize me, have this episode blocked. But if we can find a way to play it without being demonetized, we can let you know. Or if I can play a portion, but they won't block this episode if only I play a portion. If only I played a portion of the episode. Just a small snippet. A small portion. Not the full episode. Just a small... Just a little snippet. Just a small portion. So let me play you... No, I don't want to get demonetized for that one. But let me play for you that small portion of the episode. Because it involves... Because this was 13 years ago. So let me play for you a small portion.
I would walk into class late.
Well, not right. Well... It's a thing, you know. Words can kill. You know, you hear the words bitch, slut, ugly. It doesn't just happen in the school. It also happens outside of school. And when that happens, you know, there's no jurisdiction. And people will be like, "Well, there's nothing we can do. File a police report." Now we're going back to Rocky Mount. Now we're going back to Virginia. Rocky Mountain unites against bullying after a tragic death of a 10-year-old. A 10-year-old died because of bullying. Take a look at this.
Is still reeling from the death of this little girl. 10-year-old Autumn. The community is still reeling from the death of this little girl. 10-year-old Autumn Bushman, who died by suicide after being the victim of bullying in Roanoke County. ABC 13's Bridget Kelly attended an event put on by the Rocky Mount mayor tonight, where community members discussed the effects of bullying.
The community came together here at the Harvester Performance Center in Rocky Mount. They want to take a stand against bullying in their schools. Autumn Bushman was a student at Mountain View Elementary School in Roanoke County, but her death has had a ripple effect across the region. That's why Rocky Mount Mayor Holland Purdue organized this event to discuss the effects of bullying and how to help keep it from happening.
We're losing joy. We're losing confidence. We're losing a chance for a child to grow up whole. We're losing pieces of our future.
Suicide is one of the leading causes of death in children,
and tragically, sometimes is what children turn to when they are being bullied. That's why it's important to have open and honest communication with your children.
Have that relationship with your child. Take them to lunch. Give them space to have the conversation. If you as parents are not giving them space for the conversation, guess what? The conversation will never happen.
During the open forum, some parents raised concerns over how schools handle these situations. They say that even when they inform the school, the bullying continues.
I'd say, yeah. Number one, it comes from the school. Number two, it should be the parents. But how are they going to know if they don't get notified?
Franklin County Superintendent Kevin Sears tells me they have a new procedure for screening reports of bullying, but getting it to end is a two-way street.
We're not going to be able to come to satisfactory resolutions if we're not working together. So the schools and the families really have to join together with support from the community to create an environment where bullying is not accepted.
That's why they say it's important for the victim and the aggressor to get the help they need. Both children need to know that it's not okay. If you or someone you know is going through a rough time, there are resources available, like the suicide hotline. Just call 988. In Rocky Mount, Bridget Kelly, ABC 13 News.
There is help, and not every person agrees.
The trial for an Amherst County man accused of killing.
But not everyone agrees. But people want to be all like, well, the school's not doing enough for my child, so I'm gonna take some steps out. I'm gonna go blah 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 blah. There's no blah blah blah. There's help. And nobody else knows it. Nobody should ever be picked on. And now nonprofit investigates the public schools after this happened. This was about a week ago. Take a look at this.
A nonprofit is now investigating Roanoke County Public Schools and Mountain View Elementary School after a recent suicide. Autumn Bushman passed away less than a month ago at just 10 years old. The Life Foundation says they're launching an independent review of bullying policies and students' mental health care. She says they will talk to the school and students to find out what was not heard, seen, and reported.
You know, we want to get down to the brass tacks and find out where the gap in the communication was with the school, what didn't happen. That's what the investigation. What didn't happen, so we can make sure it doesn't happen again.
I reached out to Roanoke County Public Schools. They declined an interview, but in a statement they said in part, "We are conducting a thorough review. Our schools take all reports of bullying and conflicts among students very seriously." The trial for an Amherst County man accused of killing his wife is now underway. Authorities...
Look. You know, no words could ever describe what's going on. No words. The community's all like saying, well, we don't want to be part of this. You can ask the school, hey, do you have a bullying problem? And they'll say, of course not. We don't have a bullying problem. But according to lawsuits, they do. Not just when it doesn't happen from the teachers and students, it also happens from the teachers and administrators who just want to sit there and say, we don't care. You need to leave. Because that's what truancy can lead to. It can lead to people being said, well, I'm not going to school because I'm being constantly picked on. Kids making fun of me. I'm not going to school. That's what truancy can lead to. Not just bullying, but truancy. Problems in school, social isolation, delinquent activities, and worse. But those two fall in the same thing as bullying, while delinquent activities often come from the bully. You know, like I said, there needs to be a scared straight program for the bullies. You want to continue picking on someone, harassing someone, you're looking at an assault charge, and not just that. You'll be looking to the eyes of a bully, of the parents who lost their child due to suicide, and telling them, hey, you keep on going down this road, you're going to be hurting somebody else. You think it's cool to be picking on people? It is not cool. And all these videos surface on social media. And you know what the solution it should be is? Put in cell phone policies. But the truth is, if we don't have cell phone policies, but the truth is from people saying, you know, school will be boring without cell phones. Yeah, well that may be true, but y'all guys are all videotaping bullying incidents. We don't want bullying to ever happen in our schools, nor in the workplace. You may say, well, we're not going to bully, we're not going to pick on people, we just want to use our phones. But it's also to teach you that if you use your phone at work, you're going to be fired. Your phone will be taken up, and then you get to pay $15. That's how it would be. On May 5th, there'll be a special school board meeting.
For an Amelia teen who died by suicide is growing, but so are frustrations from the community. Sensitive issue. Joel Vasquez standing by logic situation.
Look at this.
Yeah, guys, it really is. It's just a tragic situation. Now, this memorial behind me started on Sunday for John. As you can see, it's only continued to grow with people laying flowers for that 17-year-old boy. In fact, his family was here not too long ago paying him a visit. However, as this memorial grows, so is a list of questions from the community and loved ones. They want to know why more wasn't done to help. Amelia County Public Schools under fire following the suicide of high school student John Tersha. His family says he endured relentless bullying and claimed the school division did nothing. Superintendent Dr. Lori Harper released a lengthy statement assuring the community the school system is, quote, committed to addressing instances where student conduct falls short. That post met a slew of negative comments, many from parents saying the school division should have taken more action.
It's heartbreaking to see these kids and these parents that are at their wits' end and don't know what to do anymore.
I took these comments and concerns to Dr. Harper directly, emailing her, calling her.
Yes, but she's unavailable at this time.
And even went to the administrative office myself to speak with her, but to no avail.
Do you know when she might be available to comment by any chance?
I'm not sure of her schedule.
In the superintendent's letter, she says leadership is actively investigating the concerns brought to its attention. She also writes that due to laws surrounding student privacy, some of the action they take can't be made public, and she admits that may lead to the perception of no action being taken. However, Tammy Maiden, who says that her grandchild was bullied at Amelia schools, says that she's seen the divisions in action firsthand.
My daughter was at the school almost as much as her son was, trying to get help, and we had one administrator who tried to help, but he didn't get anywhere. He really didn't, and so we ended up having to pull him. And he was homeschooled for a few years, and now he's at a different high school in a different county, and he's thriving.
And she's not the only one who feels the division could do more. Another parent tells me school officials never spoke to the parents of the child bullying her stepdaughter.
Parent had no idea, was never informed by the school what had been going on. And once I spoke with the parent, she addressed it immediately. The next day, the child apologized to my child.
And with a special school board meeting scheduled for Monday, going over the code of conduct, anti-bullying programs, and more, Maiden is hoping their calls for action don't go unanswered.
We're hoping that something will change for them. And just, again, just adhere to the policies you have would be a huge step forward.
Now, that special school board meeting will be happening here at Amelia County High School in the auditorium at 6:30 on Monday. Now, in Amelia County, Joel Vasquez, 12 on your side.
Heartbreaking story. Thank you, Joel. Now, here's the information on church's memorial service. It is this Saturday at 10 a.m. at the Petersburg Chapel of J.T. Morris and Son Funeral Home. That's on Adams Street in Petersburg. And certainly our condolences go out to John's family. This tragedy is a reminder that you never know what someone else is going through, but help is available. You can dial 988 at any time to reach a counselor at the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline.
We're going to take a break. We'll be right back. Here's a quick little thing from Jean G. This was shared over almost a million views on why you shouldn't go to school. I found that really funny.
Here is why you shouldn't go to school. If you go to school, you wake up early. When you wake up early, you will be tired. When you're tired, you will sleep in class. When you sleep in class, you get scolded. When you get scolded, you get detention. When you get detention, your mom and dad will scold you. When your mom and dad scold you, you get grounded. When you're grounded, you can't go out. When you can't go out, you cannot see your friends. Then you will become lonely. When you're lonely, you will become sad. When you're sad, you will cry. When you cry, your eyes will hurt. When your eyes hurt, you have to go doctor. When you go to doctor, it's expensive. When it's expensive, you have no money left. When you have no money left, you cannot buy food. Then you no food, then you will starve. When you starve, you will die.
Well, this is from, that's kind of funnier in here. But I want to give you a closing thought to what we've been talking about here. If I can just, there we go. There we go, that'll do. There is help. And for parents to be able to come up here and say, like, oh, you know, I don't have resources, I don't have money. There is help. And people just don't know it. Listen, I get what people are going through, you know. I was once a victim of bullying myself. I tried talking to the school, they didn't do anything. I didn't go up to them saying, hey, there was nothing being done. It kept on going, so I decided to ignore it. But people can change. You just, nobody sees it happening. There are steps which people can take to ensure that this will never, ever happen again. Because if it did ever happen again, then I would have to ask Grace Community Church to schedule a town hall meeting, or talk to my friends down in Rances Pass at the Rialto Theater, just get to do a town hall meeting, invite the people in the community to be like, okay, what can we do? Not just the whole Hornet community, but people in Rances Pass, because I don't know, they've been subject to bullying. Because as the autism liaison myself, what I can do is teach people how to speak up. If you don't teach your kids how to speak up, then they're going to go for nothing. And you know, when they go for nothing, they don't have anything against themselves. This is what parents are doing. Like, hey, go kick their fucking asses. It's like, you know, maybe you should be doing it, because that's not a good idea. You'll get suspended. And then you'll be in detention, and your mom will ground you while your dad has your back. It's like we've been talking about, you know. The moms will punish the kids, while the dads will defend their child, saying, hey, if he put his hands on you, you should have knocked him out. I have been bullied. I've been picked on out in the community, you know, for what I've been doing. I never let that stop me. But now that I've learned, I can just sit there and fight the bully. If I got my ass kicked, I'm not going to cry, but I stood there and I fought the bully. Violence has never solved anything. But if it can in a real world, then it'd be a way to solve problems. But it wouldn't, because nobody cared. Nobody cares about bullying, not even the school system. Everybody has their ways. And half the time, nothing is being done when it comes to being bullied or being picked on. If you're being bullied, you don't make up any excuse in the world. And if I had to talk to Grace Community Church about scheduling a town hall meeting with not just the Census Council of Flower Bluff, but we would be discussing this issue, having a town hall meeting, and give me a break first. You know, inviting some community leaders, maybe Caitlin Paxton would step in, talking about this. Maybe the mayor would step in and say, be very proud of me for what I've been talking about. I'm not just some guy playing at the corner. I'm a person who cares about everybody. Especially people who are on the spectrum. Nobody should ever be bullied. Ever. If you've been bullied, there are steps you can take, we talked about. Do not go run at the schoolhouse and get your hair on fire. Don't make accusations, make friends. Get involved. It's not time for you to say, hey, children will be children. Talk to the bully's parents and partner with them to know that you're very serious about this. And if your child goes to someone in authority, that's not tattling. Teach your child that telling on someone or telling somebody in authority. Telling is not tattling. If you go to somebody in authority and tell them what's going on, that's not tattling. That is helping them out. And here's a quick little... There we go. Here's a quick little thing from Dr. Phil when he was with President Trump.
Now you're in my wheelhouse, buddy. I may not be an expert. I have talked to so many children in schools that tell me the worst feeling they've ever had is being bullied and feeling alone and abandoned when they are picked on and intimidated, when they wish even one person, even one other kid would step up and say, hey, come sit with me at lunch. Don't sit in a stall in the bathroom and cry your way through lunch and eat alone. We're not going to let you be alone. And it's the same thing with adults. Adults don't want to be cut out of the herd and feel like they're alone. The number one need in all people is acceptance. The number one fear is rejections, and bullies, they prey on that. We must claim the right to our point of view. We must be critical thinkers, and when you see somebody being picked on, then you've got to be willing to step up and say, hey, I'm with you. Don't let that happen. And you've got to know why you're strong on the issues you're strong on. You've got to know why you're strong on affordability and safety and security and the border and family care for men and women and law and order and your core values for your children's education and our military. Know why you're where you are. And when you come to your friends and coworkers being bullied, don't be a bystander. I have talked to so many children in school.
Don't ever be a bystander. Bystanders don't do shit, but just sit there, see what's happening, videotape it, and post on social media. Nobody should ever be a bystander, period. Nobody. If you'd like to know more information about how to stop bullying and speak up, you can join the Stop Bullying and Speak Up group on Facebook, which I'll have a link in the description below. Or go to our newsletter at givemeabreak.substack.com with more tips and information about what you can do to stop bullying, as well as our Give Me a Break episodes all about bullying. Let's face it, this is an epidemic. This is an ongoing thing. Teach your child that telling is not tattling. That's all for this edition of Give Me a Break Wednesday going to Thursday. We might do a Throwback Thursday from outside the Horn and Field for a Throwback Thursday dealing with bullying. If not, we'll see you again for Give Me a Break Friday, for a Flashback Friday. For all of us here at YouTube and Give Me a Break, stop bullying, speak up. Concentration, not strength. No jaywalking. Telling is not tattling. Take care of yourself and each other. Have a good night.